Hey, what's up, everybody? Look, you and I both know that restrictive dieting, copious amounts of high-intensity exercise, and living like a social leper is no longer an acceptable approach to achieving and maintaining the body and health that you want for yourself and your family. We know this because we've been there. The good news is that we're here to show you that there's another way. The problem with how the fitness and health industry addresses obesity, or being overweight, or feeling like garbage is that all the experts tell you it's a food and exercise thing, when in reality, it's a mindset and prioritization thing. We spent nearly 2 decades in the trenches, learning, coaching, and perfecting real-world solutions to a real-world problem. Join us as we help connect people just like you with the information they need to live their best life possible. My name is Brian Sweeney. My wife Jenny and I will be your coaches on this journey. Welcome to the Amplify Network. Okay, so we covered a couple of pretty cool topics over the last few shows, in particular stress. We started talking about carbs, and there's all these things that kind of affect hormones. So leading right into that kind of pattern, we're going to talk a little bit more about sleep. Mm-hmm. I know we've mentioned it before just as a side effect or how, some other major topic point. We talked about cortisol and sleep, but really to get into the specifics of what humans can benefit and how it can hurt them to not get enough sleep.
Yep.
And I'm one of those people that is always I undersleep constantly. And even if I go to bed at the right time, sometimes because of the way I set my day up, my sleep is destined to be rocked at night. So even if I go to bed at the right time, depending on the behaviors and the things that I do leading up to sleep, it can impair it. So even though I've allocated the right amount of time, I can wake up and only having slept for 5 hours.
Right.
Which is horrible. And there's nothing worse to me than wasting time. And when you go to bed at a certain time to get something out of it, and then you realize you committed an 8-hour window, and you only slept for 5, to me, I wasted 3 hours. So I'm funny like that.
Yep. And I think, too, with sleep, where we live, it's such a fast-paced environment, and a lot of us get up at the crack of dawn, and in order to get the sleep that we need, we're backing it up, and you and I joke all the time. We'll go to bed sometimes in the summers, and we still hear the kids outside playing.
That stresses me out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the old man down the street, because I used to get yelled at playing in somebody's backyard where the old man was sleeping.
Exactly. But it's just a different time where sleep is so important. Way more important than our voices in our heads that are screaming like children going, I want to stay up till 11.
I am still that child that doesn't want to go to bed.
I know you are.
And so we're real quick in our 20-minute segment here. We're going to cover some of the benefits and the negatives of sleep.
Yep.
And a couple things kind of precipitated us talking about this today. I had an amazing night of sleep. Okay, so we went to bed just a little bit earlier than usual, and all the planets aligned, and I slept solid, right? And getting just over 7 hours, it's remarkable how much better the day and the outlook is. When typically it's scatterbrain, run, topic to topic to topic. I can't stay on focused. I can't stay on track, and already the outlook is so much more promising that I know I'm going to get my work done today.
Yep. And
typically every day I wake up and I have no idea what I'm doing 10 minutes from now. Right, and that's a freaking horrible way to live. But we'll go ahead and we'll break this up separately. So we're going to talk about some of the benefits of sleeping well. Mm-hmm. And I know we've said this before on a different show. There is no supplement that replaces sleep.
Right.
So and I think it was even on our supplement show, we talked about that if you can't get this basic thing in check, you're kind of wasting your money and time on supplements because they can't do their job if you're the canvas to work from is covered in muck and mud, and that's what a sleepless body is. It's a mess. So let's go ahead and we'll review some of the benefits other than feeling amazing. There's a lot of great shit that happens.
Yep. One of my favorites is that it keeps your heart healthy. Like it's just I'm going to read off something. Lack of sleep has been associated with worsening of blood pressure and cholesterol, which are risk factors for heart disease and stroke.
Oh, but wait a minute. So heart disease is just because I eat egg yolks and steak and fatty foods.
Exactly.
It's freaking tied to sleep.
Yes. And what I find most interesting about that is again, so much research. When you look it up, you see everything from you don't really need any sleep at all to you should sleep your life away. but the most consistent number is that 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And if you actually thought about the fact that sleep affects your heart, which keeps you alive, I think that we would stop throwing hissy fits like kids and say, we have to get up at, we won't say what time we get up. We get up way before the sun comes up, and you have to count back 7 hours. Even if you don't want to. Shut off the movie, stop reading, tell your kids to go to bed, because you got to get your sleep and keep your heart healthy.
That keeps your heart healthy. So if you're predisposed for heart disease, you got to sleep.
Yes.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Yep. Another thing that I think is interesting, we're seeing more and more, is that they're saying that getting enough sleep, they're tying to the prevention of certain cancers. So again, just something that it's going to keep your heart healthy, but what if there is any truth to that? And I always look at something like, if there's a 1% chance that that's actually true,
Of course.
then isn't it worth doing? Only 1%.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty cool. All right. Am I still going?
You're on, man. I love this.
All right. Sleep reduces stress. And I think that's what you were alluding to earlier. It's just you wake up, and if the first thing you're doing is you got the crazy brain, and then, adding some caffeine into the mix to just try to wake up and stay alert, versus just you wake up and you're like, boom, I'm ready for the day.
Yep.
Yeah. And I love that you put it with, you woke up not scatterbrained today. Very clear, very focused.
Freaking focused, laser focused.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very cool. So sleep reduces inflammation, which is something brand new that I actually didn't know about. And of course, Brian did know about. Do you want to go into any of that since?
So half of the night is dedicated to repairing and resting the brain, and the other half of the night is committed to fixing the body.
It's so freaking cool.
And it has to do with every hour. This is something else. I'm going to butcher this. Every hour before midnight. This goes back to the circadian rhythm. This goes back to when cortisol levels are high and when they're low. But every hour before midnight is worth 2 hours of sleep after midnight. So based on circadian rhythm
brilliant.
and the way that works, the more you can get in before midnight, the better you're going to be after, right? So it turns to single hour for hour after midnight, but beforehand. So if you get to bed at 8 o'clock, that's actually like you getting 8 hours of sleep right there. But as far as it taking care of inflammation, the body's got to shut itself down. For the healing and repair process to take place, you have to be asleep, all right? There's systems that only turn on while you're dormant, while you're not moving. That's why your blood pressure drops, your heart rate drops. And then obviously inflammation, the body's able to take care of itself. And without that timeout, your body's busted all the time.
Yeah. I think one of the coolest things that people don't understand about inflammation is, I'm going to read this one off too. I actually knew this part. Inflammation is thought to cause the body to deteriorate as we age.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
Say that again.
So inflammation is thought to cause the body to deteriorate.
That's correct. Yeah.
As we age.
Yes.
And I've never put it in, me, and I like kindergarten words, but
so
freaking cool.
Cell death.
Death.
Inflammation, and I know we've talked about that as well.
Yeah.
Inflammation is one of the, if you can rewind illness and disease and you back it up over years and years and years and years, you can see where there's periods where the body's just inflamed. Mm-hmm. In organs, tissue, there's
cool.
The inflammation is a killer.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Sleep makes you more alert, which we've already talked about. You're just ready for the day, I think is the best way you can put it. It improves your memory.
Yep.
Of course. I think most of us know that. Sleep may help you lose weight, which that's a very interesting. I would love for somebody to really put that one into.
To try it?
Yeah.
That's cortisol. So that's where if your sleep is jacked up, your cortisol stays high, and you keep weight on.
Yeah, it's craziness. Yeah, but it impacts hormones, like you said, which affect appetite. So they're saying that if you get less sleep, you tend to eat more.
Of course, because you're trying to make up for the energy that you don't have anymore.
Isn't it wild?
I'm guilty of that one.
I love it. They also get into like napping, and I think that one's a hard one. It depends on, I think there are those days where you really don't have a choice. We've heard from so many friends and family members where you sit down to actually work and you fall asleep with a laptop on your lap, or it'd be nice if in our days we actually could schedule something quick like a 20-minute power nap, but I don't think that's possible for everybody.
Well, not if you're working at a 9 to 5 and you're at work, but if you are self-employed,
Yes.
Everyone makes their kids do it because they know that they're going to be happier.
Yes.
They're going to be rested. They're not going to be little monsters anymore.
Yep.
We turn into little monsters the same way,
Of course we do.
The worst part is trying to contain that monster when what you need is a big fit, and I know you get enough of my fits, but you should see what I'm holding back. I mean, because you need the recovery, you need the break.
Yep.
And when I'm not scatterbrained and we can get in 20 minutes, I actually have an app on my phone. It's a sleep cycle app. It's by those guys, but it's called like Quick Nap or something like that. And you can set that thing for 20 minutes. And even that can make you feel refreshed to bounce right back.
Yeah. And that's something that I wish like new moms, they always say like if you put your baby down for a nap, you always feel like then you need to go through like wildfire, get caught up on laundry, do cleaning. New moms, you're allowed. Or new dads, you're allowed to take 20 minutes. If you put your baby down for their few-hour nap, take 20 for yourself.
Get a quick one.
You're going to feel like a new person. Sleep may also reduce risk of depression,
Yep.
which I think that is very self-explanatory.
All the good hormones, you've got to be rested and be in a position to take care of that.
Exactly. And then, as we've talked a million times, it's just that sleep allows the body to repair itself. And that's just the whole thing. So I love that you said dead cells. Didn't you?
You take care of the deadness.
I picture little cells like walking around and then them looking like a fainting goat.
They die off. It's what happens,
like,
man. So we remember from school that there's 4 stages of sleep.
Yep.
So non-REM 1, 2, and 3, and then you got REM sleep. REM's supposed to be the deepest. Mm-hmm. Now, non-REM stages, that's where the things happen. So the 3rd stage, and you don't go into a sleep coma and stay in one state the whole night. So you're going to bounce between non-REM 2, 3, hit 4, 2, 3, hit 4. It's stage 3 where the body actually does repair itself. So the more cycles, and this is the trick, every cycle every night lasts about 90 minutes. So every 90-minute turnover, you're going back through 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3, and 4, and you're working your way in and out. And every time you dip into those, REM becomes, I think the stage 3 becomes a little bit shorter. REM gets a little bit shorter. But the 90 minutes, so you take your time. If you know that, how many hours is 8 going to 90 minutes? So every 2 cycles is 3 hours. Every 4 cycles is 6 hours. So about 4.5, 5 cycles a night, right? That gives you 5 opportunities to get into that healing process for the body. Mm-hmm. But when you shorten it, so the worst thing that can happen is that you never hit 3 and 4, which means your body's too banged up to stay where it needs to. So you don't cycle right. It's like you go 2 to 3, 2 to 3. You wake up, you go to the bathroom, you go 2 to 3, you wake up, and it keeps pulling you out of 3 and 4.
That was me last night.
When you don't get that 90-minute, 45 to 90-minute set, the body doesn't fix itself. Mm-hmm. All right, so real quick, we'll just blast through some of the things. Now, what happens when you don't sleep? You already covered it with cancer. You become higher risk for cancer. You're more susceptible to getting sick because your immune system's compromised. Your heart suffers. We already talked about how it makes you more susceptible to heart disease. Mm-hmm. You don't think, obviously, when the processing power is banged up, you're not getting enough time to let the brain rejuvenate.
Yep.
And it affects the way you think, which is going to affect your emotions, which is going to affect your relationships.
Yep.
Everything falls apart in those, right?
Absolutely. It's interesting, too, I think that people they only tie not sleeping to being tired, where when you don't sleep, you get very like moody and like things tend to annoy you more. And when I don't sleep, I'm fighting tears all day. Like I'm just very emotional about it.
Yep.
So it's not just, I'm yawning a lot. It takes an emotional toll.
When you're younger, you take sleep for granted like it's a commodity. It's like, well, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. Yeah. It doesn't have any real value because I can go to sleep whenever I want to.
Exactly.
Well, so the fifth point here is that you forget stuff. And there was a study University of Pennsylvania put out that long, extended periods of time, and I know we covered this, extended periods of sleep deprivation shrinks the brain.
Yes.
It's irreversible. You get dumber. Mm-hmm. Not sleeping makes things very bad for you.
Yep.
So if you don't prioritize it at a decent age, it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s even, it can get worse.
Yes.
So making sure that it's one of the things God gave you the ability to repair yourself, and we don't do it. Right?
Yes.
It's like going into if you're a sci-fi movie, this is you getting into like a small chamber, flipping it on, and then you rebuilding your body. We have that device. We have the ability to do this, and we take it totally for granted.
Yes. And I think a lot of us take it for granted for a very dumb reason. I mean, how many people, it's like, it's Friday night and we've been so busy, we're going to binge watch. You and I have every once in a freaking blue moon, you binge watch a show and it's like you're half asleep, you're drooling all over yourself. It's a TV show. You can watch it tomorrow.
Well, we're so short on freaking time that we think that all we have is now and that there's, no time like the present.
So instead we shrink our brains.
That's right. You're shrinking your brain. All right. So here's a big one. Most people
I don't
might
really
care
think
about.
that's funny. It just sounds funny.
It is funny. Your sex drive disappears. This should probably get enough people to bed early enough that guys that lose an hour of sleep per week show a decrease in testosterone levels. Sleep more than 5 or less hours reduce sex hormones by as much as 10 to 15%.
Holy moly.
Those guys that are out there on hormone therapy, those guys that are out there trying to do natural supplements, those guys that are out there bodybuilding, you're doing all these things, but if you can't take care of the sleep, and I know we also talked about cortisol levels, they work against testosterone production as well. So these are all hand in hand. These topics we keep talking about, they're very dovetailed into each other.
Yep.
And like I said, this is the best. It's better than any supplement you can buy. You got low T, go to freaking bed. You're going to gain weight. You already talked about that. You said weight loss. You can maintain better weight loss. Diabetes, insulin sensitivity is actually affected by this. So poor sleep, especially if you're already pre-diabetic, diabetic, and you're struggling to maintain your blood sugar levels, if you're not sleeping, you're hurting yourself.
Yep.
So you're already on drugs. Do yourself a favor and try to get a little bit more sleep.
Amen.
Accident prone, obviously you're not thinking well enough, but 3 times more likely to be involved in a car accident.
Yep. There was a
weird
study
stat.
that came out years ago that said that at the time it was that more accidents that resulted in a fatality were due to the driver falling asleep at the wheel, not alcohol
Worse than
induced.
alcohol. I remember that.
Yep. And yeah, I haven't looked that up in years, but I remember when that came out and it was like, basically, if you are exhausted, it's the same as if you were drunk.
Yikes. Last point, your skin, the body's biggest organ. You look like a saddlebag. So if you ever looked at those folks that are in their 30s and you're like, wow, you're only 30. It's not just the lifestyle. It's not just smoking and drinking. It's a lack of sleep too.
Yep.
So now you've got the trifecta of destroying yourself on the inside, but
Yeah.
now you look it.
Exactly. I would say the best
sounds great.
the best advice we can give anybody who's listening that isn't sure where to start is figure out what time your alarm goes off, count back 7 hours, even if you don't want to. Start with 7.
I heard something interesting this week, and that's the way we have to do it, is that we count backwards, right? Because our get up time, we schedule our day so much.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have to physically leave the house to go do our work, it'd be a different story. But the idea was, this guy I was listening to this week, his attitude was, it doesn't matter what time I get up. I don't use an alarm. When I get up, my body says I need to get up. So I let that piece just kind of go open-ended, but I never go to bed later than 8:30 every night.
That's so cool.
And I kind of had a high degree of respect for that, but I also know that this person doesn't have to leave the house.
Yeah.
So their approach is not going to be the same for everybody. But the adults that we know that have kids are home, especially now during COVID. Kids are home, rambunctious, terrible, crazy. They don't make their kids go to bed till 10:30, 11, which kids need more sleep than we do, by the way. So you letting your kids stay up, you're not doing them. You're not cool parents. You're actually doing more damage. Make them go to bed. But what they're doing is that the kids are staying up till 10:30, 11, and then the parents want a little bit of peace and quiet, so they stay up for an extra hour, hour and a half.
Exactly.
Now it's 11:30, 12, and they're getting up at 5 and 6 to go work out, which most certainly you're probably not getting even a solid 6 hours of those cycles that we were talking about. So let's say you're getting 4.
Yep.
You're in bed for 6, but because you wake up and turn and toss and you never get into N3 and REM sleep, you're really only walking away with 4 hours of sleep. You're doing damage.
And you're shrinking your brain.
Shrinking your brain. You're no sex and small brain. Now, some of the things, and I've heard this and I've adopted it over the last maybe year and a half. If I get up at the same time every day, and the idea is I'm trying to structure my morning and my my evening and my morning routines are consistent. So I want to make sure that I'm in bed at the same time every night so that I can get up at the same time every night. Now, the best way to make that work, even on the weekends, your body gets used to the routine of sleeping and waking, sleeping and waking. And the more you can make that a pattern,
Yep.
here's something most people don't know. You cannot catch up on your sleep.
I know.
So if you've had 4 or 5 days of bad sleep, sleeping for 10 to 11 hours on the weekends doesn't make up for anything.
Nope.
You're not undoing anything.
Nope.
You're just creating, one, you're wasting more of your time, and you're still not probably getting quality sleep. And oddly enough, the way most people are finding ways to sleep, those 11 hours, those 10 hours, is most of the time they think it's alcohol induced.
I know.
So strategy number one, tip number one, go to bed at the same time every night. And if you can, it's every night of the week.
Yep.
Now, on nights that you know there's going to be a little bit of a social impact, you're out with your friends or you're out with family, you're going to want to catch a nap at some point during that day. You're going to want to do some repair because obviously you don't want to live a life where you're not going out anymore.
Of course.
And
it shouldn't kill your social life.
now keep in mind,
kill it.
I pull the plug at 9:30.
I know.
I mean, it's typically only on vacation that I'm going to go and stay up till 10. You
Yep.
know, I'll get real buck wild and I'm up till 10 o'clock. I'm always the guy that kills the party, though. I mean, at 9 o'clock I stand up. By 9:15 I'm out the door. I'm already an hour late from when I go to bed.
Right.
For me, the trade-off on how I feel and how productive I am in the morning, it's not worth any amount of socializing
Yep.
at night. So when we get together with our friends, we try to encourage them to get together a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Get up, can we meet up at 5 instead of 6, right? Alcohol interferes with sleep. If you drink, we kind of figured out if you're going to do it, you want to kind of do, we're big fans of day drinking. So if you're going to have a couple, you want to be done before 5 p.m.
Yep.
That's kind of like our rule of thumb. I know that when we drift past that, there are residual effects and it bombs my sleeping. And the next day I turn into hamburger.
Yes.
So if you're going to partake, try to set a time limit or a window. It used to be just set the number of cocktails, but whatever. Just make sure you're done before dinner. And that way you're still kind of empty and you go to bed clean.
Yep.
Alcohol can interfere with it, timing, social life. And it's a very adult thing to go to bed early, wake up consistently at the same time, and tame your body.
Yeah. I think along the same lines, it's just during the week we get up at the same time, but I think what we do without even realizing it is if on Friday and Saturday nights we're going to bed an hour or two later, then we're still going to get like 7 hours of sleep. So we'll still wake up 7 hours later. So it's like the bedtime goes forward, but we've adjusted so well that we're still going to get that same window of sleep.
Approximately.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, sometimes I just wake up and I'm so tuned into waking up at the same time that when I go to bed late, it absolutely crushes when I get up.
Yep.
So, and I'm in a deficit for the rest of the day.
We're all so funny that if we wake up and the sun is already starting to come up, it's like, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah. If the sun's up, I've lost part of my day.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I think we've kind of hammered this to death. I'm sure we'll talk about it again. Sleep's so critical to your success if you're on the health and fitness journey, if you're trying to establish a new lifestyle, if you want to be better in your relationships, if you want to maintain a more youthful, younger look and feel. If you can't take care of this, you're wasting your time. You're speeding up the clock. You're tearing down your body, and you are going to end up. The relationships are big too. I mean, if you just look at how you interact with your spouse and your family, you're an asshole if you don't sleep enough. You can't help it.
Can't help it.
And as much as even I try, dude. Sometimes I'm just an a-hole, and I know that I can tie it back to bad sleep.
Yep.
All right. Any other salient points?
I'd say for one solid week, if you have never purposely thought about trying to get 7 hours of sleep in, try it.
So actually, that's a great challenge.
Yeah.
I was thinking 30-day, but let's just make after 7, it should sell itself.
Exactly. See, so do it. When you go to bed, it's like if you know you've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, try to back it up
To 8.
Yes.
Go to bed at 8.
And go to bed. One solid week, full commitment, not every other day, like a Sunday through Saturday or whatever you want to do, and see if you feel better.
If you've abused your schedule so badly that you just don't have the hour, shoot for a 45-minute extension somewhere.
Perfect.
So add 45 minutes And that's not get ready for bed.
Yep.
You're in bed, the lights are off, the mobile devices and everything are out of your face, and you are trying to go to sleep 45 minutes early.
Absolutely.
All right. If you do that and you're successful, please let us know.
Yeah.
Like I said, it'll sell itself, I think.
Amen.
All right, guys.
All right.
Gals. So we just wrapped up our low-carb recipe book. I keep calling it a recipe guide, nutrition guide. So it's a low-carb nutrition guide. There's a couple monthly meal plans in there. We put together over 80 pages of recipes. It's a pretty freaking dope-ass guide. We're going to put the link to that in the comments of this show. So if you want a copy, just go find it, download it, and you're welcome to it. We would love your feedback on that as well.
Yeah.
If it's got some value to you, if it's something you like, then we'll keep making stuff like that.
I think it's pretty.
It's pretty good. Thanks for sharing and promoting. It's fun to see our subscribers go up. It's fun to see the downloads every week. We watch that stuff, and it's kind of just the geeky stats that show us we're on the right path.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Get your sleep.
Go to bed.
Get your sleep on.
All right, y'all.
All right.
Later.
Bye.